Welcome to the Therapy Show podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard. In each episode, I interview a seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapist from the counseling world to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. And if you're considering a career in the counseling field or just want to hear about what it's like to be a talk therapist, then this is the podcast for you. Sherry Collier is a life and business consultant who has been licensed as a marriage and family therapist and expressive art therapist for over 25 years. She is a wife, mother, and expressive artist who provides guidance and support for fellow creatives and folks who want to redesign their lives, relationships, and/or their life's work. She uses a variety of tools like expressive art, cognitive therapy tools, goal setting, and action planning to help others achieve their dreams for an awesome life. On today's episode, we discuss what is expressive arts therapy, how therapists can easily incorporate art into their practices, and how Sherry has pivoted her skill set and is creating an online course to help therapists explore their artistic sides. This is her second time on the show, and I'm super excited to have her back on. But before we jump into that, have you received your code for one free continuing education contact hour yet? That's right, I'm giving you your first pod course for free. So 4 of my pod courses are now approved for continuing education contact hours. It's easy. Head to my site, lisamustard.com, enter your email, and you'll receive a code to then enter at checkout for a free contact hour. You can listen to the pod course anytime, anywhere, and when you're ready, complete the self-study quiz, pass it, then you can download your certificate of completion. If you have any questions about the pod courses or purchasing, feel free to email me over at hello@lisamustard.com. Okay, now let's get to the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Therapy Show. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard, and today I have a special treat. I am bringing back a guest from the past. She first came on the show, episode 16, and we had such a great talk about burnout and compassion fatigue. And on that episode, we touched a little bit about what she has transitioned into nowadays. And I wanted to have her back and talk about what she's up to, how she's helping therapists, and give us some ideas and tips on how we can move into 2020 with self-care and with loving the work that we're doing. So welcome back to the show, Sherry Collier.
Hi, Lisa, and hello, everyone listening. It's so good to be back. It's always like chatting with a dear friend.
I know. I always said we've already been chatting, and I had to say let's hit record before we do all the chatting, and we don't get. So I want to just kind of give you some feedback because I know you'll love this. I've had a lot of people message me and share how much your first episode really helped them and made an impact on them. They said they felt like they were having coffee with you, of course, but two clinicians who were just having an honest and genuine conversation. And so I just wanted to let you know that you definitely have been making an impact on our listeners. So thank you once again.
Oh, thank you for that feedback. That's really good to know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
We
welcome.
always like to know if you're making some kind of a good impact.
Oh yeah, right? Because we always hear about when it's not so good. People want
Right. Yeah,
So it's really
exactly.
nice to get the positive. People are real quick to give you the negative, but I just wanted to let you know. So
Yeah.
we were just kind of sharing before we hit record, what you wanted to talk about today, because it's really cool. And I know you're going to help me because I know I need this in my life.
So yeah, I am an expressive arts therapist as well as an MFT, and so in the past 25 years, I incorporated that into my sessions, and I also used it as self-care. And I'll tell you what, I have to tell on myself because I was so good at, helping my clients and really encouraging them to do art, and to pursue their creativity, develop their creative muscle, blah, blah, blah. And then was I doing it? No, I was not consistently pursuing my own art. I'm a painter. I paint with acrylics. And I just was so busy and giving so much to my clients that I did not carve out the time to paint. So, as you know, I sold my practice last year, moved out here to Tennessee from California, and decided to just, start something completely different. So I started off with my art and just really giving myself permission to paint.
Mhm.
And I put my work in an arts and crafts show this past, I think it was last weekend. And I've never, ever done that before,
Mhm.
Lisa, ever.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you what, it was so good for me because I had to literally paint every day
Mhm.
for like 3 weeks solid in order to have enough inventory. And let me tell you, I felt the most relaxed, the most joyful,
Mm.
just like you could not make me unhappy. I was just happy as a little clam, painting, painting, painting my heart out. And it dawned on me, oh my goodness, this is very therapeutic. I mean, I knew that intellectually, of course, but I experienced it firsthand. And I imagine it's a little bit different for every person as to what they will find to be extremely joy producing. Like for you, Lisa, I don't know, might be working out because you seem to love that and you're so good at it. Is that, do you find that consistency with that produces a lot of joy for you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, definitely. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it.
yeah.
I also wanna share your paintings are incredible, and you guys gotta go follow Sherry on Facebook. She she puts her paintings up, but you make it look so easy and effortless. Like, I am not artistic by any means, but you give me that hope that, "No, I could do something. I could
Oh, you
take
totally could.
brush to a canvas and create something." So, I am so inspired by you, and I know it lights you up. I mean, as a therapist, we're very aware and attuned to body language and affect and phrasing of when people are speaking, and you just light up when you talk about your art. Can you kind
Yeah.
of go back and tell us a little bit about your training in expressive arts therapy? I think that's really cool.
Sure, yeah. When I finished up my graduate program and got my little, registered intern card, I really knew that I wanted to incorporate our art into my
Mhm,
life somehow, and I didn't really know how. And I was seeing a therapist at the time. You know how I don't know if you did, but our board
mhm,
required that we get 40 hours of our own therapy, which of course I think is wonderful.
mhm.
And I loved it anyways.
Yeah.
So I was seeing a therapist at the time, and she was trying to help me figure out how can you incorporate art into your life. And so she kind of really encouraged me to pursue anything having to do with art therapy. Well, right about that time, a wonderful, wonderful lady. And if any of you out there in California have been around for any length of time, you know Dr. Lolly Mitchell
Mhm,
and Dr. Ann Hanley. And they had Sky Mountain Institute. I think it still exists, but I don't know if they're having regular classes anymore. But it was a program over the summer. It was a 3 month program.
mhm,
And we went every weekend, not every weekend, sorry, let me back up. I think it was one weekend per month or something like that. Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. And we were just immersed
mhm.
in everything related to expressive arts therapy. So we experienced it and it was incredibly healing. I mean, you had stuff coming bubbling up out of your subconscious mind that you had no idea was there. I
Yes,
mean, art
right.
can do that. Art can speak your subconscious's language
Mhm.
for you
Yeah.
in shape, color, texture, image. And so it was incredibly healing, incredibly bonding with all. Thank goodness for me because it made me more comfortable that it was all women
Mhm,
in this particular group. So we were able to share, you know, deep stuff related to sexual trauma in our past, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm,
And it was incredibly healing. And I learned a ton and I immediately began to use it in session. And I am kind of a shortcut person, right? I'm always looking for simplify, simplify. How do we simplify?
mhm,
And I kind of found a way to just bring it down to the bare bones and say, okay, I'm not going to get super, super complicated in my supplies. I'm just going to keep a great big box of crayons,
mhm.
chalk pastels, some clay. I had a big old mat for the clay with tools from the kitchen that they could beat on the clay. So I simplified it. I just got real simple with it. And I was so honored and amazed what both children and adults would do if you would just say, hey, I wonder if you'd like to to draw something or build something or make sculpt something that would just show that emotion, and they'd kind of look at you like, huh, how do you do that? And then I just say, well, just imagine, like, what color would that be if, like, you could pick a color to represent that situation you were just describing and how you felt, what color would it be? And they'd be like, oh, it'd be red or
Yeah.
black or what. And they
Yeah.
intuitively were able to just kind of go there. And so you obviously you have to kind of learn what tools to use and not to use. For example, I'll just give you an example. You want to be real careful with people who come to you with a diagnosis of schizophrenia.
Mhm.
You might want to offer them a pencil or a pen to
Mhm.
start with, because sometimes when they can have difficulties come up when they try to engage with lots of paint or lots of color. But they
Right.
know intuitively what they need, and they will gravitate towards the art medium that they know they can handle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beauty of things, is people are much more intuitive when you lay out the art supplies in front of them.
Mhm.
They know what one they want. They like, it's so funny. They just make a beeline straight for it. And so anyway, I'm kind of rambling here, but I simplified it and just used it, and I've been using it for years now. And now I'm like, okay, I think other therapists
Mhm.
might want to learn how to use it in a way that's simple, where they don't have to go out and get a 2-year art therapy degree. You don't need that. If you have a license and you're trained
Mhm.
to know when someone's suicidal and what their diagnosis is and how you need to work with different diagnoses, then you can incorporate a little bit of art, because it's
Mhm.
very intuitive to the human spirit.
Ooh, so now you have me really curious. Are you by chance are you by chance coming like, creating this course? Is that what you're saying?
I am.
All right.
I haven't actually made the course yet, but
Mhm.
I am trying to do a little bit of market research and find out what therapists need the most.
Okay.
And so far, what I'm finding is everybody kind of wants to learn it for their own personal self care.
Mhm.
And I think that's fabulous.
Mhm.
I'm just thrilled because, like I said, I discovered just how incredibly therapeutic painting is for me. Now, that might be chalk pastels for somebody else, that might be oils for somebody else. Who knows? But I
Mhm.
do think that as therapists, we talk about self care,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we really live it out as consistently as we should. And
Mhm.
I feel like for me, having that expressive arts therapy thing that I went to for 3 months, it was accountability.
Mhm.
And I knew, like, I had projects, I had homework, I had to go and I had to make things in between class. And so it forced you to get artistic. And I think that that's the power of a course
Mhm.
along with a group.
Right.
Is that you have that accountability, and there's people that are going to cheer you on no matter what you make. It doesn't matter
Right.
if it's ugly or cute or pretty. I think that's the key to
Mhm.
self-care for therapists, is having accountability, having a supportive group of people to cheer you on. And then, of course, for me, it's the art piece too. And I know there's many therapists that do like that art piece.
Mhm.
There's a lot of therapists that do seem to kind of have that artistic bent too.
Mhm.
Not everybody, but it just seems like a lot that I talk to anyways. Of course, maybe that's because that's who I am, but
Right.
anyway, it just does seem to capture a lot of interest whenever I talk about this.
Well, yeah, you and I met on social media. We met through Jonathan
Yeah,
Van Vegan, and
yeah.
when you invited me into your group, I mean, I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, and I have yet to see somebody doing what you're doing. So I would definitely
Oh,
agree with you. You are doing something that's really unique and really innovative for therapists, kind of getting I think ahead of the curve because you see a lot of therapists who become yoga instructors. You see a
uh-huh.
lot of therapists who go and get extra certifications in nutrition. And I think it's really cool how nowadays there's so many other ways to approach helping people, and we all
Yes,
recognize it's not just like what goes on in between our ears. It also is like
yes.
what's going on in our body and what's going on in our soul. And there's so
Mhm.
all of this research is coming out and showing us about best practices with all these different holistic approaches. So now is the time. I think you're really on the cusp of something here to say to other therapists, like, well, first of all, self-care, we all need it. I mean,
Yeah.
in fact, on our last episode, you and I really kind of
We
talked,
dove into that.
we really did. And that was a really helpful conversation for me, by the way,
Good.
coming away from it. And I've heard from a lot of other people too. So you're right. I mean, why not? This is just an offer of self-care that a lot of therapists who are artistically inclined probably are going, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Or now is the time for me to dive into that. Or, young therapists that are just coming out of grad school and who are looking to kind of hone in on their niche. Like, wow, what a cool thing to consider if you love art and you love creating things. So I think
Yes.
now is a great time. Hey friend, want to be more comfortable while sitting on the therapy couch? I sure did, and went looking for pants and tops that were soft, wrinkle resistant, and would match just about anything I already had in my closet. And now ZYIA Active makes up about 80% of my wardrobe. Would you like to learn more? Head over to my site, lisamustard.com, and click on the activewear tab. And don't think this is just for women. They have men's and kids' clothes too, and our family is loving the quality, and I am loving the price tag. So head over to my site to check it all out. So I have to ask you, I know you use acrylic. What other area, like what else would be expressive arts besides, painting or drawing? What else comes to mind when you think of expressive arts? Is there?
Okay, yeah.
Mhm,
So expressive art, now if we're kind of using the term expressive arts therapy,
mhm,
that's kind of an umbrella for many, many different mediums. And so I'll just list a few.
okay.
So poems, writing poetry,
Mhm,
singing,
mhm,
dancing.
mm,
Some expressive arts therapy workshops I've been to have even just had us do movement with these real pretty flowy scarf thingies,
mm,
run around the room and
mhm.
wave these scarves. And I know it sounds goofy, but it is so much fun. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
tell you how joy producing it is. It's like there's music playing and you're just
Mhm,
running around like a little kid with the scarf.
yeah.
So it's anything. Expressive art is anything that
Mhm,
allows you to express.
yeah.
And like I said, you're expressing stuff that maybe you don't even know what you're expressing.
Right.
Your body will just express it for you. And when you allow yourself to get kinesthetic
Mhm,
and move your hands and do anything, painting, sculpting, running around with scarves,
mhm,
sand tray. My goodness, the list just goes on and on. There's no end in sight as to
right.
what you can do with expressive arts therapy. So, yeah, that's why I love it because you do get a variety. You're
Mhm,
not just stuck on painting. Now, I settled on painting because I just found it to be very meditative.
mhm,
So, for example, if I'm starting a new painting, I have this big, huge blank canvas staring at me, and I have to go in and lay down a background. And I learned that from another artist that you want to get your canvas covered with something because your psyche will feel better the minute you get paint on the canvas, but your psyche is kind of freaked out when you're looking at a blank canvas.
Really? Okay.
So they teach you, get some color down, and that is so much fun because you can just literally you can get out your little not only your paintbrush but your, oh shoot, I'm holding it, Lisa, and they can't see it.
Uh-huh.
A palette knife, that's what
Okay.
I'm trying to say. And you can get out your palette knife and your paintbrush, and you can just slap paint color down on that and not even worry about, does it match? Does it work? Don't even worry about that. You're just covering the canvas.
Right.
And that is so meditative.
Yeah.
You just get calm. You just do. Your blood pressure goes down. You find yourself focused so much on, like, I'm looking down at my colors and I'm thinking, oh, what color do I want to put on there next? And so your brain is not going to all those dark places that
Mhm.
it can go to during the day when we're faced
Yeah.
with daily stresses.
Right.
And so it truly, it's an escape, but it's
Mhm.
also, it's not just an escape though. It's like taking your brain and it's doing something with it that is good,
Yeah.
and that is just intrinsically, it's part of us as humans to use our hands
Mm.
and to use our creativity, and I think we lost touch with that.
Yeah.
And our society went so left brain hemisphere,
Mhm.
and went into the computers and the technology. It's all so analytical and left
Mhm.
brain. And I think there's something just so healing and powerful about getting back in touch with our hands and
Yeah.
handmade stuff and movement and
Mm.
kinesthetic stuff. And I would say the same thing about exercise. You know, when
Yeah.
I do walk,
Mhm.
I the kinestheticness, just the motion,
Yeah.
it's a little bit meditative, and you
Oh,
can
yeah.
kind of, get yourself into this great space if you're being sure to listen to, good tunes, or you're purposefully,
Right.
focusing on different things around you in nature, for example, or something, being mindful of
Oh,
where you
yeah.
are. But anyway, did that answer
Oh,
your
yeah.
question? Okay.
Gosh, I mean, definitely you covered, my brain was just like just going with you and then you covered so many different ways of expressing ourselves. It really got me excited because I've always been this like, well, I can't paint and I can't draw, but there are other things that I can do. And
Yeah.
then, bringing up the idea of walking. I love walking,
Yes.
going out, and my kids will often say they want to go with me and I'm like, "No, it's my self-care time. Get away. You cannot go with me." Because I just want to be alone and listen to music,
Yes.
and to me that really helps me get creative and get inspired just walking through my
Yes.
neighborhood. I also like how you touched on we're so left-brained and that
Yeah.
we focus so much of being on technology and I see it with my
Yes.
kids. My husband and I
Mhm.
talk about this all the time. We're very particular about how much screen time they get or phone time because what we
Mhm.
find is that if they don't get their allotted time and like they don't know how to entertain themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't know how to just play sometimes. And we find that we just don't give in and they eventually will go and do things like they'll draw or they'll paint, but it's like that's not their go-to right now. They wanna be on their screens. They wanna be on their phones, and
Right.
I'm guilty of that as well. So, I've
Mhm.
actually been thinking, what can I do that engages that right side of my brain? And I
Yes.
have an idea, and if I say it out loud, you guys are gonna but I've actually thought, okay, here, I'm gonna tell you, and which means I know I'm telling everybody, but I've actually thought about voice lessons. I've thought about singing,
Yay!
and I haven't sung since probably like 6th grade in the chorus, and I don't think I was that good, but there's something that holds me back from taking the leap, I think because I'm
Oh.
nervous and embarrassed, and I've never done it before, and I'm 46 years old, but then the other part of me is like, "What is wrong with you, girl? Get out there and just give
Oh,
it a try and
yeah.
see what you can do."
Oh, yeah, Lisa, you gotta go
Yeah.
for it.
See,
Oh,
I
I
said it out
can't
loud.
wait. Okay, I'm gonna hold you accountable now.
Okay. I know,
You
right?
gotta go take those voice lessons.
Well, can
Yeah.
I let me share what happened. So you have Netflix?
Yeah, I don't watch it that much, but yeah,
Okay.
we have it.
Okay. So I know you said you don't watch it much, but if you have a chance and you love the music from like the LA scene of the 1960s, like the Mamas and the Papas and
Uh-huh.
the Birds, there's a documentary on there called Echo in the Canyon, and it's all about like how the Birds came together, how the Beatles were the influence and the Beach Boys, and the I just love the sound of that music. And so I
Mm.
can't stop singing those songs in the car by myself, and I
Nice.
was like, if I really wanna sing this, I need some help because it does not sound pretty right now. But I love music. Music inspires me in
Yes.
so many levels. So maybe that's my artistic side I need to
Oh,
explore.
I think you should go for it, Lisa. And I love it too, actually,
Yeah.
believe it or not. I When you said back in the 6th grade, I think you were in choir. Is that
Yeah.
what you said? Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
I was too. I was in choir all through junior high and high school. And yeah, I'm 50 now, and I will tell you the voice that I once had, I was a first soprano.
Oh, wow.
I I don't think I can hit those high notes
Yeah.
anymore. You
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
your throat or whatever it
Mhm.
is, the apparatus that you use
Right.
to sing changes over time. And so I think singing lessons would be a blast.
Yeah, I do
And
too.
I believe it or not, I had a client that did that.
Oh, yeah.
She went and took singing lessons, and part of it for her was because she loved to sing and loved music, but the other part of it was was to face her fear,
Mm,
that she got extremely nervous,
right.
when she would sing in front of other people. So, I think you should totally do it, and I think you're gonna be great. I think we're gonna all hear you sing
Oh
somehow.
gosh. Somehow. I love how you said that somehow. Yeah, because it will have to be somehow, and it's not going to be anytime soon. But thank you for your encouragement. And I knew if I told you, of all the people, I was like, if I tell Sherry, I know she'll just cheer me on and
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
do it.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay,
I'm
I'll keep you
excited
posted.
for you.
I'll keep you posted. This is a very timely podcast episode, that you and I, because I've been thinking about this, and then I reached out to you and said, I'd love for you to come back. And you were like, let's talk about art. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So this is very timely. Something bigger is at work here, I think.
Yes, definitely. And music is art.
Hmm.
Music is so art,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
Completely.
Oh, wow.
Completely.
Yeah, I'm getting chills.
Well, very well, thank you. I say thank you. I just put myself out there. But part of it too is my facing my fear of putting myself out there.
Yeah,
I haven't challenged myself like that in a really long time. So I think that's part of my process is, you
right,
know, like I always tell people it's never too late to start something new. So why can't
right.
I take my own advice here? So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, so you are taking your own advice. That's great. And
Oh,
and I'm right there with you. I just had to take my own advice too with the
mhm.
painting.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this too, Lisa. You can totally paint. You just don't
Yeah.
know it.
Right.
Because honestly, so part of my process was that I am paying to be a part of a membership group with an artist,
Mhm.
and she teaches us paintings step by step.
Okay.
So what happens is over time I get to know the different brush strokes, and I get to know how to mix color, and I get to
Mhm.
know even the styles, right?
Mm.
Because there's different styles of painting. There's realistic, there's abstract, and
Right.
everything in between. So why am I telling you this? Well, I learned step by step paintings, and I liked it so much I started doing it with friends. So I
Oh.
invited friends to come over. One time I had four ladies that were just friends,
Mhm.
and they came over, and we had a paint party,
Oh.
and I literally taught them step by step. Okay, here's the color for your background. Mix this with that, and then here's what we're going to do with the brush strokes. Da 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 da. And when we got done, it was so much fun to see
Yeah.
everybody's little bit different interpretation of the same picture.
Oh, wow.
That was so
Yeah.
cool. It was
Yeah.
like truly, truly, every person has like a different their eyes see something differently. Like they look at the same painting, and instead of blue, they see a little bit of more of a teal blue, whereas this lady over here sees more of a purple blue, for
Right.
example.
Right.
And that just always gives me chills. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in the
Yeah.
presence of greatness of all
Oh,
these women who have these different perspectives, and they're able to show that through the colors they choose and the way they paint. And anyway, they so all that to tell you, it really is just about learning. it's
yeah.
it's just skills. That's
Yeah.
all it is. And then it's taking those skills of those brushstrokes and the colors and all that, and it's just consistently practicing it, just like you consistently work
Mhm.
out and you have the body to show
Oh.
for it. If you consistently paint, you'll eventually have the paintings to show for it. It might
Yeah.
take a little time, but
Right.
you'd get there. But anyway, I'm glad you're
Yeah.
going to sing because that sounds like it speaks to your heart.
It does, yeah. Thank you for that. And I was reflecting on what you were saying about the consistency of learning a new skill, and
Yes.
we're all beginners at something at some point. We all have to start somewhere, and I think that's I think back to my journey as a therapist when I was
Yeah.
in the very beginning, sitting in grad school and learning about the theories and just having my mind blown by, what I was learning.
Mhm.
And then they were like, "Well, now you're gonna go sit with a family." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna let me talk to people." And being the beginner and therapist and then moving through that and graduating and getting your first job. And I think it's that's just life. Like you could take
Yes.
that learning new skills. And I think that what I love what you're saying, and the meaning I'm picking up on it is, if we just consistently work at building up our skills and we take chances and we try new things and we make it our own, it may not always be what we're hoping for, but if we're
Mhm.
open to learning from it and readjusting and reevaluating, we can try it again and then move through it, and
Yes.
have what we want in our lives.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so
Yep.
I just love talking to you, Sherry. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on the show. Okay, so if folks want to get in touch with you and be a part of what you have going on? Because it sounds like you're working on your course, but in the
Yeah.
meantime, you have a group on Facebook that's just awesome and lovely. So how do they get to be a part of that?
Well, if they want to know more about the artistic stuff that's going on,
Mhm.
I would actually just send them to my Facebook business page, which is
Okay.
Sherry Joy Collier.
Okay.
And I'll give links. But I actually have two Facebook groups. So I have Counselors Thriving in Private Practice.
Mhm.
And up until now, that group has kind of been about helping counselors get their private practice up and running and growing it. But you
Mhm.
know what? I'm going to kind of start switching gears a little in that group and really talk about, because thriving
Mhm.
involves self-care
Yep.
and it involves joy and
Yep.
having joy and happiness. And if as a therapist you're starting to get burned out and you're missing out on joy, you're not going to have a very successful practice either, because you're not going to want to take on more clients. So
Yep.
Counselors Thriving in Private Practice is a free Facebook group where I am going to be starting to introduce more and more about various art mediums and just how to have fun with it, et cetera, et cetera. And then Women Who Thrive is the other group that is more like, every now and then I'll give a creativity prompt or an art journal prompt or something like that.
Okay.
And that one, the Women Who Thrive one, I'll just throw it out there because some may not want to. It is faith-based.
Okay.
So I post stuff in there about God and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
some people like that, some people won't. So the Sherry Joy Collier is the big business page where I do go live and do
Mhm.
paintings live
Mhm. Yeah.
and post. I've learned something. I learned a new trick, Lisa. By accident, I videotaped myself on my camera, my
Uh-huh.
phone camera,
Uh-huh.
painting a painting, and I accidentally hit time lapse
Oh.
and didn't realize it. But in the meanwhile, everybody loves it. So I'm posting that time lapse video so that you can see me paint an hour and a half long painting in like a minute and 30 seconds.
Oh, how cool. Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
That's really
it's
neat.
kind of fun. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, that would be where people could probably hook up with me the best, is the Sherry Joy
Okay.
Collier, or even the Counselors Thriving in Private Practice, or Women Who Thrive.
Oh, okay. So you've got lots going on and it's really
I
exciting.
do.
I mean, just
I
think
do.
just, a few months ago we had this conversation about where you were going to go and what you wanted to do next and here you are. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for you and I'm even
Thank you.
more excited for all the therapists out there that are going to now have you in as one of their tools for self-care when it comes to art and expressive art. So
Yeah.
thank
Thank you
you
so
so.
much for having me.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. Anytime. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard. I know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm thankful you've chosen to listen to mine. Be sure to visit lisamustard.com to access the show notes and discover more fantastic content. And I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the show. Thank you.